What a cool background you got.
Thank you. Thank you. I take great pride in my unhealthy obsession with the Beatles and Billy Joel.
I love it. I love it.
It's great to see a remake that isn't soulless or just a cash grab for once. This movie has so much heart, and I really love that about it. So first of all, thank you for making this movie.
Well, thank you.
I'm curious. I'm always curious about every director. If someone has never seen anything you've done, what's the first project you want them seeing and why?
I think my answer right now would be watch The Wedding Banquet because it's coming out in theaters, and I want this to have a wonderful theatrical life. I want people to watch it together in a room, like get that communal experience. Um, But yeah, I think people should take a look at my filmography, see what speaks to them. I think each film has a different spirit. I
Mhm,
think there's a shared kind of sensitivity and emotionality between them all.
mhm.
But I think it's dealer's choice. I'm thankful for someone to watch any of my movies.
For sure, for sure. I get that. And like you said, watching this movie with a communal group of people, there's no bigger event that has a group of people than weddings. And I'm curious, what is the craziest wedding you've been to?
The craziest wedding that I've ever been to. I mean, so much of the wedding banquet was inspired by my brother's wedding, and I saw him get married, through this Korean traditional ceremony um it was the first time that I had seen some of these rituals, like the throwing of the dates and the jujube, like the chestnuts and the jujubes and the piggyback ride around the room. And I just was watching this being like, what is happening? Um, but it was also so incredibly beautiful, and there was this kind of feeling of, like lineage and culture that I wanted to be a part of. And so, I think that this movie was kind of my way of throwing myself my own Korean wedding.
I love to hear that. No, I can't. I actually didn't know that was based off real traditions. I thought some of those were just kind of like creative liberties. Do you actually know which one the chestnuts and the jujubes represent? It's 50-50.
So very funny. Yeah, so very funny. My parents were on set when we shot that scene, and even they didn't know. And my dad had a guess, and then he was wrong. We Googled it, and actually, even now, I'm not 100% confident, but I'm pretty sure that the jujubes are the boys and the chestnuts are the girls.
You know what? I'll take it. And since you mentioned like your parents were on set during production, you shot this film right here in Canada in Vancouver, and you shot it really fast. You shot it last summer, and you premiered at Sundance in January. And just from the filmmaking process, I'm extremely curious. That's a very tight post-production schedule. What was that like? That time crunch? Did you even have time to like test it for audiences to get feedback, or was it just kind of like this is what we're submitting?
Yeah, I realize we open in theaters April 18th, and I flew to Vancouver on April 21st, 2024. So it's less than a year, and we're out in theaters. I think we had worked on the screenplay and the project for so many years. I started this process in 2019. And so, we kind of went into production like really ready, really motivated. Um, it was a really, tight production schedule, it was a tight post-production schedule, but this is where I'm really thankful for my past experiences, making other features, and then also just so thankful for my collaborators, my producers, you know, uh, I think we were able to um, stay on track, So we did do test screenings, we did feedback screenings, just did everything we could to get the kind of information, feedback, inspiration that we needed, so that we could end up with a film that we're really proud of.
Yeah, and it's a great movie, and the fact that you did it in such a short amount of time, just like as someone who's studying film right now, that's absolutely insane that you managed to get a completed movie out in less than a year like that. It's not often you see it, and to such a high level of quality either. It's very uncommon. So props to you and your team for that. I'm
Thank
really
you.
curious, aside from the original 1993 feature, which movie do you think will be a great double feature companion piece with The Wedding Banquet?
That's a really good question. Is it silly to say, uh, maybe a double feature with one of my other films?
Sure, why not?
Any of them might uh, kind of be in dialogue with The Wedding Banquet in an interesting way, Spa Night, Driveways, or Fire Island. I'll say I think it would be so much fun to do a Joan Chen double feature and watch The Wedding Banquet alongside Alice Wu's Saving Face, where Joan plays the mother of a queer daughter, but in a very different way. And then what about Yoon Jung grandma double feature and watch Minari? Like I think it would be really
Oh, you're onto
um
something. You're
cool
onto
to
something.
see. Yeah, cool to see Yoon Jung in a very different role in both films. So I think just to show off her range.
Yeah, no, you're right. God, I might have to do that actually. When this comes out on home video, I might actually have to
Cool.
do that. I haven't seen Minari in a long time, so I
Nice.
might have to do that. You premiered this movie at Sundance, which is great. And as a director, or just even as any sort of creative in general, when you're working on a project for so long, it's really hard to see another outside perspective because you've been working for so long. It's almost like tunnel vision. I'm curious, when you screened it with that very first audience publicly, what was the reaction for any scene in general that made you realize, okay, this movie works. It's not just me. We have a hit.
You know, um, I I think comedies are so hard to watch with an audience because as the director, you're just waiting for everybody to laugh, right? Um, I don't know if I had like a particular scene or moment where I was like, okay, like we're good, we're in. But I think that the experience at Sundance, like screening at the Eccles, like it was the first time I got, a standing ovation in my career. And I just was like, oh, this feels so strange, but I was incredibly grateful. Um, I'm so glad that people are embracing the spirit of the film.
Yeah, for sure. And to follow up with that, is there any reaction specifically from an individual that has resonated with you the most, whether it was from a feedback screening or any of the screenings that have happened since Sundance? Like any one person come up to you and say something that really stuck with you?
I made this film so much for my boyfriend and I kind of kept it from him for a long time. Like even through the post-production process, we didn't show him a cut. And so he got to see it for the first time at Sundance. And, after the movie, after, our after party, we were back at, the condo in Park City and we just had a really meaningful conversation about family and that meant the world to me.
That's that's really beautiful, actually. Sorry, that's really beautiful. Like I said at the beginning, it's really nice to see a remake or a retelling that doesn't feel soulless or just a cash grab. Something I love about this movie, it subverts so many tropes. The jokes still land. I'm curious, since you also wrote this movie along with directing it, how do you draw that fine line? Because it's really hard to pull off.
Yeah, I think I think it's always important for a film to surprise its audience, especially in a comedy. I think at the heart of it, comedy is to surprise someone, right? To get them to laugh, to react in a way that they don't expect. And so, that was something that we worked very hard in the screenplay phase with my co-writer James Seamus to just try and give us that blueprint so that when we got on set, we had the material to play with, and then of course, working with these actors, everybody had such amazing comic timing. Of course, you've got Bowen Yang, who is just a comedic genius. And then
Amazing.
also, like like Lily Gladstone, who had never really gotten to, be in a comedy film, so far in her career. And so, like it was just so awesome and exciting to see,
Yeah.
her do that. And she's so funny. And so it was, just again, kind of uh having the material and then trusting the collaborative process with our actors, and then in the edit working with our editor Jero Brisson to just really like craft those jokes, so that uh that the reactions pop and the timing feels satisfying. Comedy is incredibly difficult because it is both such a precise art form, but then also kind of magic, and you just have to be able to like try stuff.
For sure, for sure. And like you said, Bone is great in this. Like, even from the dramatic perspective, he surprised me the most out of anyone in this cast. I did not know he could do the seriousness like that. Look, they're giving me the rap. I just want to say again, this is a beautiful movie. It's gonna mean so much to so many people. I know so many of my friends are gonna love this. Thank you so, so much for taking the time to talk to me. You did Ang so
Yeah.
much justice with this.
Oh, well, thank you. That means a lot. Thanks,
You
Thomas.
guys did great. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. Yep. Bye.
Bye-bye.